NHL Trade Deadline is just 2 days away, and a surprising trade candidate has emerged from the Calgary Flames. Craig Conroy is reportedly trying to find suitors for Daniil Miromanov, and one writer has proposed the 3 best potential new organizations for the Flames blue liner. Could we see another Conroy masterclass before Friday? We're going to get into all that and more in this video, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I'm Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family. Before we get into the trade talk, let's talk about last night's game. Oh baby, we can actually talk about the Flames scoring some goals. Boy, this road trip has been strange. It started off with a bang, and then the offense ran pretty much as dry as it possibly could. And then the Flames decided to go to Philly, see some familiar faces, see some Jacob Peltier, see some Andrei Kuzmenkos. And the Flames, oh my gosh, they saved their goals for the city of brotherly love, getting the 6-3 win over the Flyers. Huge for the Flames and their push for a playoff spot. Absolutely spectacular game. I mean, of course, the Flames social team decided to put Zary in there. He was demoted, quote unquote, to the 4th line, and he really showed up. He got a couple of goals in this game. First one, he wasn't with his 4th line mates, but still, he played a fantastic game. Lots of players played really well. It's just fantastic to see. If we get into the box score, we actually have a big one today. So Wolf, he gets the win. He gave up 3 goals on 28 shots. Honestly, not his best game, but did enough to get the win, of course, which is all we care about at the end of the day. If we get into all of the skaters that got on the score sheet, like I said, Zary got a couple of goals. He just really took charge in that first period. The first period that, I mean, just had so many goals. 6 goals combined in the first period, and they all happened within a very short stretch of each other. Well, at least 4 of them did, and then 2 of them did. But either way, just such an exciting hockey game. It was so good to see. Kadri and Weegs both getting a goal and an apple apiece. Again, just phenomenal to see that as well. Coronato and Sharky were the other 2 goal scorers in this one. Sharangovich, a strange goal where he just kind of tucked it in past Fedotov. And Coronato, of course, getting the insurance goal at the very end of the game. Huberdeau and Morgan Frost each getting 2 assists. Great to see them. I'm sure that meant a lot to Frost, getting on the score sheet in this one, getting not 1 but 2 assists. And then we also had Pahal, Hanley, Pospisil, Lomberg, and Rooney all getting assists on the night, which really doesn't leave many players out of who got on the score sheet. But the players left off the score sheet were honestly kind of the forward line and the D pairing that did not play the best. Rasmus Andersson did not have a good game. Him and Kevin Ball not on the score sheet there. I think they actually finished as minuses in this one. And also the entire line of Backlund, Coleman, and Farabee. I don't know. It just didn't click. It didn't go too well. I believe they all finished with a -2 on the night. Not exactly the best line. I don't know who Huska is going to put as the 3rd with Backlund and Coleman, but I really didn't think Farabee was a fit. It was too bad that Farabee wasn't able to get on the score sheet, of course, in his return to Philly. But either way, a win's a win, and we are pumped. If we look at the standings now, the Flames 2 points up on the Canucks. They have now played one more game than the Canucks, which is interesting. Almost this whole time we've had games in hand on Vancouver, but now we've played more games. St. Louis also right there. They're just 3 points behind. We do have a game in hand on them. Same amount of games played as Utah, 4 points up on them. And Anaheim slowly creeping up. They destroyed Edmonton, didn't they? Is that what happened last night? They're slowly making a little push here at the playoffs. They do have a game in hand on Calgary as well, but sit 6 points back. So it's really turning into a real race here in the Western Conference after it's been an insane playoff race in the Eastern Conference almost the whole year. Almost every team is in contention except for maybe a couple over in the East, which is crazy. But the West is really starting to turn it on. And, the Flames, if their offense can do what they did in Philly, things could look good if only we got to play against Ayerson every single game. Now let's get into the pressing matter and talk about some Miro Suitors. Talk about kind of the trade deadline here as it is swiftly approaching today, obviously being Wednesday. It's just a couple days from now. So we have a great article here from Rupert McDonald of the Hockey Writers, and he writes 3 potential trade destination for Flames is Daniil Miromanov. The Calgary Flames aren't going to be big-time sellers at this year's trade deadline like they were last year, but they may be moving out of a defenseman on or ahead of March 7th. This move would not be considered selling in any sort, but rather giving a player who hasn't worked out a fresh start elsewhere. Obviously, Miromanov came over from the Golden Knights in the trade for Hanifin, as it actually says in that second paragraph there. So the now 27-year-old was somewhat of a mystery to fans, and he had very limited time spent in the NHL prior to the deal. It's become clear, however, on a longer look in 2024-25 that he doesn't fit into this team's long-term plans. And if any, fans or more importantly, execs from other teams are talking to you and asking you about Miromanov, say, yeah, he's a top 4 guy. He's been playing, big minutes with MacKenzie Weegar this year. He really is the real deal. You should trade for him. That's exactly what we're all saying. And I'm okay with the Flames trading Miromanov, of course. He honestly seems like a really, really good guy. Anytime he speaks, whether it's on social media or the rare press conference, he seems like such a good guy. But unfortunately, there is the business side to the game as well. Now, let's get into this. Where did this all spark? Of course, we had an F-bomb. It was Elliotte Friedman. So he said, I think they're trying to find a place for Miromanov. Sportsnet's Elliotte Friedman said on his 32 Thoughts podcast. He's not really playing. He's still a pretty young guy, wants to play. I think that they probably try to find somewhere for him, whether it's ahead of the deadline, which, it's only 2 days anyway, 48 hours pretty much from the time this video goes live, or perhaps in the offseason. It sounds like the Flames are willing to part ways with the Russian blueliner, who carries a $1.25 million cap hit through the 2025-26 season, so next year. Here's a look at 3 teams that could take a flyer on him. Who are the Miro Suitors? Well, you probably guessed the first one from the thumbnail. What a terrifying thumbnail, by the way. Daniil Miromanov, he's kind of a scary-looking guy, no matter how nice he is. But either way, the first team is the Boston Bruins. Wowee! Who saw that coming? So the Bruins were expected to continue to remain near the top of the Eastern Conference this season, but that's been far from the case. They currently sit outside of a playoff spot and are being viewed as potential sellers heading into the trade deadline. It's been a long time since that has been the case. One player whose name has been mentioned to be on the move is defenseman Brandon Carlo, a player who the Flames are said to be interested in. If the Bruins were to move out Carlo and others, they would have a few spots to fill on the back end. Perhaps in what could wind up being somewhat of a retooling stage, they opt to give Miromanov a look. So this would not be a one-for-one. I hate to say it, but Carlo might be a little bit more valuable than just Miromanov. But if the Flames do decide to go after Carlo, this does make sense. Rupert McDonald's onto something here. All credit due to him for this one. But we could see Miromanov be moved again, and it's kind of funny. He seems to be, involved in so many trades as not the main piece, obviously. But either way, the Bruins are definitely an option. I personally don't see the Bruins wanting to acquire Miromanov, but if he is a piece, pardon me, I can barely speak in this video. If he is a piece in a Brandon Carlo trade, I could definitely see that being an option. Who knows? We could see. Next one here, the San Jose Sharks. You always want to trade players to the absolute best team in the league, isn't that right? The San Jose Sharks have a strong opportunity to select first overall for the second consecutive year, and they definitely want to if it's anything like Celebrini. That kid is unreal. They have some great young pieces that suggest a bright future lies ahead, but they are years away from being true contenders and still have plenty of spots that need improving. I'm going to continue on the Sharks here, and then we'll get into the third team on the next slide. Boom! One of those spots is on the back end, where they lack anything close to a legitimate NHL blue line. While Miromanov is far from a sure thing, a team in the early stages of a rebuild such as the Sharks may look to see if they can unleash his full potential in what would be a much bigger role. And that's why it makes sense to deal a player like this to a not-so-good team so that he can get a better opportunity. Obviously, in Calgary, Miromanov is playing behind a lot of other guys. So on San Jose, they really don't have all that great of a D-core. I know they have Marc-Edouard Vlasic, who actually just passed Mark Giordano for the most block shots in NHL history. But other than that, the Sharks really don't have all that much. Miro could go there and do really well. So I see this being more of a reasonable option. I just have no idea what the heck we would get back from San Jose. It could genuinely just be future considerations. As would be the same with the third and final suitor here, the Chicago Blackhawks, a team a little bit better than San Jose, but not by much, the two bottom feeders of the league. So speaking of teams that are in need of some help, the Blackhawks may be at the top of that list. While they have one of the game's best young talents in Connor Bedard, a little disappointing, I'm not going to lie, there's not much of a supporting cast around him. The Blackhawks are not only going to need some of their other prospects to take strides and become impactful NHLers, but they are going to need to find some free agents and take chances on players such as Miro in hopes of finding a few gems. He would come cheap and is arguably an upgrade over several of their current defensemen right now. So same thing as San Jose. Miromanov could definitely grow in a better opportunity, really get the opportunity he wants. I'm sure he'd love some power play time. He has that wicked shot. Well, at least it's very powerful. He kind of reminds me of Michael Stone in some ways. But either way, it could definitely make sense. I don't see Boston making all that much sense unless it's part of a Carlo trade, which even then, I don't want the Flames to trade for Carlo either. But overall, very interesting here. Feel free to go check out this article, actually. Like I said, Rupert McDonald on the Hockey Writers, he wrote this one. And he kind of says, what the Flames could potentially get back and says that it won't be all that much. But either way, very interesting. I could see Chicago or San Jose working out. Maybe not Boston, but overall, very interesting. Let me know down below where you would like to see Miro go if he is to go anywhere. Now let's wrap up this video. The comment of the day, as we love to do here on the channel, comes from yesterday's video, of course. And, I had to pick it. I had to go with Guitar Memoirs one here. Let's actually make this bigger. Here we go. So he said, I still don't hate the idea of re-signing Vladar. He wants to be in Calgary and he won't be expensive. Only 99 NHL games. So he's still pretty, fresh in a way, and he wants to be here, which is huge for the Flames organization. As for Carlo, I would like to see him on the team, but it depends on what we have to pay. He would really solidify the top four with Weegs on the left. He has 2 years left after this one, so he isn't a rental. And yes, it does make sense to pick him up for that reason, but again, it all depends on what we would have to give away. We don't really want to be giving away futures for a player who could be here for a little bit. Obviously not just this season, as you say here, but overall it is interesting. I really think Weegar's game would improve with a guy like Carlo beside him, so interesting there. AI just estimated Carlo's value at a promising prospect and a mid-round pick. I thought it would be more. Boston might be looking at a young right-handed shot defenseman in return, in which case Brustevich and a fourth might work. Risk on both sides, not sure I would do it. I'm not too sure I would do it either. I don't really want to give away Brustevich. I know we have guys like Perek. We have guys like Muse, obviously, in the future as well. But overall, I don't know. It is a bit of a conundrum. I'm still leaning towards that. I'd rather not go in the Carlo direction, but some people have good arguments, and I just thought this was a great comment here. Again, let me know your thoughts down below on what you think about Carlo, Miromanov, and anyone else leading up to the trade deadline. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe like you saw here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.